Everyone, it's Tet from Blades and Blasters. I'm here with another system tutorial for Dune 2D20. This is the next one in our list. We have 3 so far, and this will be our 4th. This tutorial is going to go over the basics of conflict, as this says, that way. So you'll see this is basically the building block of what comes next, right? We talked about how extended tasks and that sort of stuff was the building blocks for this, and this is obviously the building blocks for all your conflict types, okay? So the conflict types are, as you will see here, they are, let's see, they're listed, they should be listed back here. Okay, so you have dueling, skirmishes, warfare, espionage, and intrigue. That's what you'll see. I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. Okay. This is going to be, we're going to go over some things here. And the first thing we're going to go over is kind of how things work. So just in a very high level. So you're going to need your asset, and your asset, whatever you're doing with your asset, is very important. It could be intangible, like a spy or something out there, or it could be a weapon, things like that. So it's up to you to determine what that is based on what kind of conflict you're doing. And so there's that. You're going to need assets to actually do this. Zones of conflict are kind of like a movement thing. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you physically move somewhere. It could be, say, the zone of conflict is one planet. You move to another zone and it's another planet. You move to another zone and it's a system. So it could be like that large of a scale of things too. But it just really depends on which conflict you're doing, right? Dueling conflicts are extremely personal. I mean, it's literally, where your hands are positioned. Are you defending or are you out attacking? It's that specific, whereas something like warfare can be huge swaths of land, or planetary systems and that sort of thing. So it just depends on what conflict you're using, and that goes for everything, really. Okay, let's move on to the next part, where we're going to get into the specifics of the mechanics of how these conflicts work. Now, these are not specific to the conflicts themselves, but everything kind of boils down to what you can do, from a move action to the different using your assets and how to do that, and you build on that as you go through the conflicts using these different techniques and different ways, and you're going to see how that works in just a moment. So the first thing we need to know is action order. Okay. Dune 2D20 uses a simple turn-based, kind of round-based thing. But it's not exactly that. Most games you'll have like just a round, and you go each round in a certain order, and then you go from there, whereas not really the case here. Typically, the PC goes first, and then when the PC is finished, they nominate another side to go. So this is important to note because there could be multiple sides, or more than 2 sides in a conflict. So let's just say, for example, you have the Atreides, the Harkonnen, and the Carino houses all in some sort of conflict. Well, Atreides could go first, and they say, well, I want the Carino to go next. Then the Carino goes, and they have to nominate somebody who hasn't went yet, and they nominate the Harkonnens. And so that's the sides, and then each individual person in those sides would go, or one of them would go. One of them would go, and then they would nominate another side until you have a side with more characters or assets in play. And then they would just finish up, and then they are going to nominate somebody else for the next turn to start the next round. Okay, that's how it basically works. That's going to be normally how it proceeds. Now there are some things you can do to change that order. Okay, um, so um, you can do something. The GM can spend 2 points of threat to have an NPC go first instead of a PC at the beginning of a conflict. Okay, so as a GM, I can spend 2 threat and just make myself go first, and then you continue into your order, as we talked about before. Um, when somebody finishes a turn, there is a concept of keep the initiative, okay? And keep the initiative is very important. You'll see that throughout the game. And keep the initiative, you can spend 2 momentum or add 2 threat to keep the initiative. When you keep the initiative, you can do another action. Okay, you can do one more action. So you can move. You could use an asset, move, use an asset. However it breaks down, but you can do another thing. You can't do it again. You get one turn with that character to keep the initiative, then you have to pass it, and then that person can do the same thing if they want. Okay. When you keep the initiative, the next action you take has an additional +1 difficulty. So remember that. If you played other 2D20 games like Conan, this is a swift action basically. So it's the exact same thing. You spend momentum or give threat to do something again, and it's harder to do. That's pretty much it for the action order. And so this is on this page. You can see in the book. Please look at your book and follow along. This is for me to help you, not for me to give you the book or anything like that. So just you follow along and learn the best way you can for this, and that's why I'm doing these, so everybody can learn, obviously. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and the last thing you can do there, you can see the last. I was just reading it real quick because I had forgotten this, but if you are the last person to go, usually, like I said, you nominate another side to go. But if you spend 2 momentum or again 2 threat, you can say your side's going to go first again. So it's not keeping the initiative for yourself. It's actually nominating your side to go next, and that's when everybody's finished. You can do that. So all right, let's move on to the next thing. The next thing is taking action. So this is basically what you're going to do every time, but it's going to be very specific to your actual conflict, the forms of conflict. But this is the baseline of how it's all going to work. So you can either move or use an asset. You can do one or the other. You cannot do both unless you keep the initiative. Okay. So when you move, there's 3 ways you can move. Okay. You can move to an adjacent zone, and that might mean different things based on whatever conflict you're using. You move to an adjacent zone for free. There's no skill test. There's nothing. Now, if you want to move an additional zone, so adjacent and then one more, so 2 away, you spend 2 momentum to do that. You can do that. Or you can move 2 assets once. So either you can move 1 asset twice or move 2 assets once. Okay, and so you can do that. That's just 2 momentum. Now, there are 2 other ones that require skill checks, and that's moving in a subtle way or a bold way. Subtle, they both have difficulty of 2, and if you move in a subtle way, what happens is that you are moving undetected. Okay, if this skill check works and succeeds, then you can keep the momentum for 0 momentum. Okay. Sorry, keep the initiative for 0 momentum. That was confusing. So you can keep the initiative for 0 momentum. That means that you can act again immediately. Okay, so you could move, or move, use an asset, or whatever. But that first move, you move, and then you're moving in a subtle way, so you can act again for free. Okay, when I talk about skill checks here, it's very dependent on what skill you use. Is dependent on what kind of what the actual entry, or I'm sorry, the type of conflict you're using. Like in battle, it might be, or in fighting, it might be battle. If you're doing an intrigue, it might be communicate, or even understand, or something. That's just kind of up to what the situation is and circumstance and the conflict you're using, and we'll get into that later. Boldly, what that does is same thing. You make a skill check. If it succeeds, difficulty 2, then you get to move one of your opponent's asset to a adjacent zone. Okay, so if you can move their army away or in a certain position that you want it. And you move your asset, of course. You move your asset, and then you move their asset. Okay, so that is good. Now, if you fail, okay, you may not spend momentum for additional movement, or to keep the initiative. You're done. Okay, and also if you fail, the enemy can move their asset 1 zone. So if you fail, you're done. You can't do anything else, and the enemy moves. So there is, kind of ramifications to doing that. Okay. So that's your move action, and then there is a move skill. So I actually did I think about this? You're going to use your move skill on these more than likely. But it does really depend, but probably your move skill. Okay. But that's for another video when we go through the conflicts. I'm going to go through each conflict. I just don't want to confuse you. But you're going to use a skill, and we're going to tell you what that skill is later. Okay. So use an asset. Use an asset can be many different things, as we know, and we also know that there are sub things you can do with use an asset. Okay, and you'll see that list there. Attack an opponent with the intent of harming them. Attempt to remove an opponent's asset from play. Attempt to create a new trait for the scene, or a new asset for your character or ally. Attempt to overcome an obstacle in the environment. Attempt to gain information about a situation. Attempt to remove a trait or similar complications from an ally, or to aid a defeated ally. Okay, so some of these are contests, as we talked before. So that's the defender rolls, and you have to beat that difficulty. And some are not. A lot of them are extended tasks as well. So like combat's an extended task most of the time, unless you're facing a minor character, then you don't do that. But at any notables or full characters, it is an extended task, and they work like an extended task, just exactly. So let's go down through these different ones, and we'll show you how they work at a high level before we get into the specific conflicts, which will, put their own spin on it. Okay. So the first one is attack, defeat, and recovery. So attacking someone. This doesn't necessarily mean physical. It could. It could mean an intrigue. It could be some other sort of thing. But here you see the conflict overview. So you choose an asset based on the type of attack you're making. Choose a person's skill and drive, as well as focus. Roll your contested a contest against the target. If you win, you succeed. If you fail, you fail. On a successful attack, you overcome your opponent. If it's a minor character, they're defeated, and otherwise you do an extended task, just like I was saying before. Okay, so that's pretty simple how that is broken down. So if you win, you go to the successful attack outcomes, which are here, right? Minor are defeated automatically, like I said. And if the attack is against a notable or then you do an extended task. So like an extended task before, typically the damage against the target. So the target is usually the skill of the character that you're targeting, that makes the most sense. So battle and combat or whatever. So that is the total you have to get, and when you succeed in an extended task, that's 2 against that, right off the bat. Now it's increased by the quality of your asset. So if your quality is 1, then that's an additional 1 against that total, so it'd be 3. You also can spend momentum to increase the quality of your asset temporarily. That's one thing that you can do, to go against that. And then you can also, I think, one moment. Yeah. So you can spend momentum for that, and if you see that in bold down there, if you flee, you can. If you want to inflict a permanent injury after you defeat someone, you can spend 2 points of momentum to do that as well. Um, and remember, assets increase or decrease the difficulty of a task, or allow you to do a task, or don't allow you to do it, someone to do a task, for instance. So just keep that in mind when you're making these checks. Defensive assets increase the difficulty by 1 usually, or if you probably that for this, maybe they attack you back. Remember what I said about extended tasks, they are asynchronous, not synchronous. So what that means is, if I do one to you, that is totally independent of what you do to me. So if I'm doing an extended task against you to hurt you, in no way does that have anything to do with you doing your extended task against me. None. So just keep that in mind. So defensive assets usually increase the difficulty by 1. We talked about that. But offensive assets, might decrease the difficulty by 1 too, right? So it's very interesting, right? It's not going to. So if I'm attacking you with a knife and you have a shield, they nullify each other, right? Because you have a defensive asset and I have an offensive asset, and they're going to nullify each other. Okay. All right. Targeting assets is the next thing. And targeting asset is, if you're using a combat example, disarming someone is a good one. So you can remove that asset from play until the end of the scene if it's tangible, and if it's intangible, it just gets rid of it completely. This could be blackmail, or a slew of things for intangible assets. So and you do that the same way. You make a skill check with your skill that you need to use, and if you are successful against difficulty 2, you remove that asset from play. So keep in mind that defensive assets could give a increase in difficulty, based on what they are and what you're trying to do. Create a trader asset. So you can create a trader asset during play by making a difficulty roll. I think it's of 1. Let me verify that. Sorry, it's a difficulty of 2, just like the others. So you can create a asset. Say you had a hidden knife or a hidden lasgun or something like that. So you could make that difficulty roll, or make that skill roll against the difficulty of 2 and make that happen. So the asset has a quality of 0 too. These usually go away at the end of the scene, unless you pay momentum to make them permanent. Okay, and that costs 2 momentum to do. So at the end of the scene, you can pay 2 momentum and make some asset permanent. Um, Traits work pretty much the same way, except you really can't make those permanent. It's going to be something else about the scene, like a heavy fog or something, right? So it might make, their sight is obscured. Maybe yours is too, but something else where you would use it. Hey, this is to my advantage. I'll do this. So I'll spend a trait for that. So that is that. So overcoming an obstacle is the next one, and overcoming an obstacle is pretty easy. It's a difficulty one. Um, and basically, if you're presented with obstacle in a scene for some reason, and this is usually narrative in nature, right? So I've got to cross a very very fast stream or something. So you can take an action and overcome an obstacle to get across that stream. So you would make a move or some other skill check against that, and you would try to move across the river. And if you beat a difficulty one, then you do so. And that's as simple as that. Gaining information is one that is in all 2D20 games almost, and basically it's against a difficulty 0, and that difficulty 0 is there so you can really generate momentum. It was what it's for. Say you're in a duel, which is not one that you might think of, hey, gaining information. Maybe you're just studying how they're moving, what kind of form of martial art they're using, and that sort of thing. So you gain momentum by rolling your, I think it's, I want to say the right thing here. Your skill check, probably an understand. It can really be. It looks like it can be any skill that makes sense, right? But you're going to do that against the difficulty 0 and generate momentum on that. Okay, so that's a way if you're out of momentum and you really need one desperately. It's what you're going to do. You're gonna gain information, use that action, and so you can gain some momentum that way. And it's a pretty neat way to do it. And the last one is aid an ally. Okay, so we didn't talk about this before, but there are ramifications for being defeated. If you are defeated, this is the result of an attack. If you're defeated, typically you're out of a scene. Someone can spend 2 momentum, as I said before, to make something permanently bad happen against you. Not only are you just defeated, but you're also messed up in some way or shape, form, right? This could be physically, this could be politically, this could be socially, whatever, right? So you can aid an ally. This is a difficulty 2. They're all difficulty 2 except overcome an obstacle. That's difficulty 1. All the rest are difficulty 2. So the first one is like if you are permanently defeated and you have a permanent effect, you can make a skill test versus a difficulty of 2, and if you succeed, then the permanent effect is gone, but the person is still out of the scene. Okay, so if they're dying, you can heal them so they don't die or whatever. So you can do that. Okay. The other one is if they don't have a permanent effect and you want them to recover. Okay, then you need to make an extended task with a difficulty. With a requirement of 4. So you're going against the 4 plus the quality of the asset that created the defeat. So if they had a +1 crysknife or something, then it would be 5. And then you need to do an extended task against that to get them back into the fight and into the scene, whatever that is. Maybe you're just like, hey buddy, it's okay. You just got your ass handed to you in a conversation, and he made you look really bad, but it's okay. You can still talk. Whatever it is, right? And to get them back on their feet for that scene. So that's it. I think that this should give you a basis of how to do conflicts, and the next videos that I'm going to be doing are all the conflicts. So I'm going to do the dueling first, and then I'm going to go on from there: skirmish, warfare, intrigue, espionage. So keep this in mind, this section, when those come up, because they'll have very specific examples of these and how you use them. But this is the overall basis of how conflicts work, and I hope this has been helpful. Any questions, please ask in the comments of this video. I'm happy to respond as much as I can, and if I don't know something, I'll look it up. And if you're watching this close to the release date, we're about to start our Dune campaign, so I'm really excited, and hopefully this runs for a bit and we have a good time with it. I think players are excited. I'm excited. So please keep watching here on Blades and Blasters, and we appreciate you. Thanks.